that good? Am I good, Chris? All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Economic Development Subcommittee
Recording in
meeting
progress.
for August 14th, 2024 to order. Note to residents, all citizens are welcome to attend public meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on the Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or the live Town Hall YouTube channel. No, wait, broadcast on, sorry about that, or the live broadcast on Comcast 9 and the Verizon Channel 29. You'd think I'd have this all memorized by now. Meetings are also archived by Franklin TV on the Franklin Town Hall YouTube channel. There we go. And shown on repeat on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29 for those who miss the live meeting and just can't get enough of economic development. To listen remotely, citizens may call in using this number, 1-929-205-6099. That I do remember. The Zoom webinar ID number is 816-4933-7520. All participants will automatically be muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants who have entered full name and email address will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Okay, I'm out of breath just reading that, and we're out of time. I'm always a jolly joker. It's the way I do things, so pardon me there, you guys. So today's agenda, we have a listening session with economic development partners, and can I just read them off, Jamie, and then we'll just, so first is the 495 Partnership, then we have the Metro West Visitors Bureau, Tri-Valley Chamber of Commerce, and the Franklin Downtown Partnership. And I think they all have some pretty cool information, so we'll just let them take it. Jamie, is that okay with you?
Yep.
Okay, Jason.
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me.
Move
My
your
name
mic
is-
over. Yeah.
Here we go. How's that? That's perfect. Good?
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Jason Palich. I am the Executive Director of the 495 Metro West Partnership. We are a regional economic development organization serving 36 cities and towns in the 495 Metro West region, including the town of Franklin. And I'll walk you through just a little brief presentation about who we are and what we do. So by way of background, our mission is to lead the advancement of the 495 Metro West region as an exceptional location for people, businesses, and communities. Our vision is one in which the 495 Metro West region will enjoy sustainable economic growth, well-stewarded natural and built resources, and diverse transportation and housing choices, because we know that together these things make our region a desirable place for all to live and to work. We are a unique public-private collaboration. We are not, unlike some economic development organizations. Whoops.
Do the full
I'm
screen.
just going to make it full screen.
There we go. Good call.
If I can find it. Sorry, Jason.
No worries.
I've got the. This is probably way
Okay,
first.
forget it then.
Slide check top right.
There you go. You nailed it, Jason.
Look at that. There we go.
Hey! Now we can kind of see it, right, Patrick?
Now you can see our nice,
He's gonna take photos.
our combination of burnt orange and purple that defines our visual style. You know, if you needed to land an aircraft in the fog. The 495 Metro West Partnership, just to expand on who we are. Whereas a lot of economic development organizations are explicitly business or business interest organizations, we are actually a stakeholder alliance. We are an alliance of businesses, municipalities, higher education institutions, chambers of commerce, regional transit authorities, developers, environmental organizations, members of the region state legislative delegation, folks you don't always find around the same table, around our table, where the common interest is economic growth throughout the 495 Metro West region. We are, surprising to some, a relatively small organization. We have a full-time staff complement of 2, but we are led by a relatively large volunteer board of directors. Our board of directors is balanced among those different stakeholder entities. We have municipal officials, we have business leaders, we have town planners, the leaders of some of our higher education institutions and RTAs. And of course, your town administrator, Jamie Helen, serves as a member of our board of directors, representing the town of Franklin on our board. We have been in continuous operation since 2003, although some folks who have been around a while may think of us as having existed a little bit longer. We were actually a merger of 3 existing organizations, including the I-495 Technology Corridor that had existed for some time prior. So what are we talking about when we talk about the 495 Metro West region? There are different definitions of Metro West, and of course we're not exclusively Metro West, we are 495 Metro West. We are the only organization that collects this unique grouping of 36 cities and towns. All of our 36 cities and towns share common economic and demographic traits. They sink or swim together. They have a lot in common with one another, but they are on the edge of other jurisdictional boundaries. They're divided by county, they're divided by metropolitan area, they're divided by congressional district, different RTA service areas, different chambers. Pretty much any different river watersheds, which is starting to matter for EPA permitting purposes, pretty much any jurisdictional boundary where decisions are being made, these communities, in spite of all that they have in common, are split up. So the 495 Metro West Partnership tries to speak for them with a unified voice. I like to describe our region as a large diamond to the west of Boston. We go as far north as the town of Westford. We come as far south as Foxborough, Rentham, and Plainville. The eastern frontier is Natick and Wayland, and we go as far west as Shrewsbury and Grafton. And of these 36 cities and towns, fun fact, Franklin is actually the 5th largest by population. So Franklin certainly looms large and is very much an economic center, in particular in the southern tier of our region. Our region is home to about 1 in 10 Massachusetts residents. Since 1970, its population growth has been 49%, compared with 24% for Massachusetts. The region has also become substantially more diverse in recent years. Between the 2010 and 2020 decennial United States censuses, the percentage of residents who self-identify as white in 495 Metro West dropped by 10 points. The region has very high levels of educational attainment, especially compared to the United States, but also in comparison to Massachusetts as a state, Massachusetts, of course, being a highly educated state to start with. The region is a technology and life sciences hub. Industry clusters with higher concentration in our region than in Massachusetts include IT and analytics, biopharmaceuticals, and medical devices. The region's unemployment rate has been consistently lower than the state's going back to 1990. We are not without our challenges, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, but our housing vacancy is especially low. It's lower than the states, and we certainly know that the Commonwealth is dealing with a housing crunch right now. However, our commercial and industrial real estate cost per square footage when leasing existing space is significantly more affordable than inside 128, in particular when compared to Boston, Cambridge, or Watertown. So I won't go too deep into this, but how the 495 Metro West Partnership came to be, by the time the 1980s and 1990s rolled around, this region had certainly started to see a significant amount of growth. But as I talked about, the region lacked for some cohesive identity. And by virtue of all these cities and towns being split up among other jurisdictional boundaries, there was a sense among business and municipal leaders that the region's needs were often second to Boston or Worcester, or not seen in a holistic way when looking at 495 Metro West. So a couple of different organizations in the 80s and 90s sprang up to try to address that, and in 2003, those were combined into forming the 495 Metro West Partnership. And we, in 2022, adopted a new strategic plan for our organization, and these are just, I won't go through each of these individually, but in setting our mission, vision, and values. It is very important for us to be strategic. As I mentioned, we're a relatively small organization, though we serve a large region. We're only 2 full-time staff, and certainly while we appreciate the input and guidance of our volunteer board of directors, when you have leaders who already have a lot on their plate, certainly everyone's time and resources are relatively limited, so we try to be very focused in what we focus on and what we do. A couple of things that we do on an annual basis: there are some annual reports and projects that we engage in of value to any economic development stakeholder in the area, and all of these are available on our website. I'm going to pause here to note that the 495 Metro West Partnership is not a membership organization. Although we do receive private financial support from businesses that support our work, you don't have to pay money to benefit from the services of the 495 Metro West Partnership. The work that we produce is pretty much all available for anyone to access on our website. So a couple of things that we put out every year. Each year we put out a report which we call Strength in Numbers. It's a pretty basic document with just some high-level talking points on how you can sell 495 Metro West from an economic development standpoint. What do we focus on? We focus on the fact that our region essentially has all of the advantages to being in Massachusetts, but at a substantially more affordable cost from a commercial and industrial real estate standpoint. So our region is home to a very highly skilled, highly educated workforce. You have ready access to the eds and the meds, the higher education and healthcare institutions that can be big drivers in Massachusetts' economy. You have relatively quick access to Boston, multiple airports, the Port of Boston, all of the advantages economically to being in Massachusetts, but with a commercial and industrial real estate cost per square footage that's just a substantial discount when compared to anywhere inside 128. So that report each year is on our website. We also publish individual municipal profiles for each of our cities and towns. I've got a screen grab of Franklin's up there. These are 2-page reports that include some basic information, data points in each of these profiles, our population, educational attainment, commuting patterns. They include where folks who commute to Franklin commute from, or residents in Franklin who commute out of Franklin, where they commute to, occupations and industries, and more. And we do try to refresh these each year. And then, of course, we also work with MERC, the Metro West Economic Research Center at Framingham State University, every year to do our annual employer survey. This is a survey we do. It's online each and every spring of employers in 495 Metro West to assess their attitudes. It's a great tool to highlight some of the advantages to being in 495 Metro West, but it's also an important tool for us to use to identify the concerns of employers in the region as well. So in addition to some of the traditional economic development work we do, which I'll talk about in a minute, one of the things that the 495 Metro West Partnership is known for is we do a lot of advocacy on behalf of the region, focusing on issues that are holistically necessary to support economic growth. When you stop and think what's necessary for an economy to thrive, a local economy, a regional economy, we focus on a couple of key infrastructure issues: transportation, water resources, workforce development, and housing. Transportation for us is key. It has long been something that's associated with the 495 Metro West Partnership. When we talk about transportation, we're talking about 3 buckets of transportation: roadways, commuter rail service, and regional transit authorities. None of our region's 36 cities and towns are served by MBTA bus or subway service, so we do not focus on bus or subway. Our region is served by 3 commuter rail lines. Our region is served by 5 different regional transit authorities. And though we certainly value the services that we get, and the leaders of those regional transit authorities are active participants in the 495 Metro West Partnerships Coalition, I bring you no news when I tell you that transit in 495 Metro West is a significant challenge. You cannot get from one end of our region to another using transit alone. Certainly we are a region where commuting patterns have changed in the past 2 generations. The common idea of the suburb was folks living in town commuting in and out of the central city, and certainly there are folks who still do that, but we also know that folks who live along the 495 corridor are often commuting up and down that corridor, and there are very few public transportation options available to that. So we advocate for the region's needs when it comes to transportation. Last year, through our Transportation Committee, we refreshed our priorities on each of those 3 key issues. When it comes to roadways, commuter rail, RTAs, asking what do service improvements constitute in a post-pandemic world. Some successes that we've had over the years when it comes to roadway project advocacy. Anyone who has to go towards the geographic center of our region is probably very well aware of the fact that the interchange between the Massachusetts Turnpike and 495, which was a very operationally unsafe interchange made worse by the removal of the toll plazas, that is finally happening after a number of years of aggressive advocacy on the part of the 495 Metro West Partnership. That is not only an intensely utilized interchange for commuters and residents in the area, but that interchange also has significant economic importance to the region. Most of the freight coming into the region that is not going towards the immediate Boston area is having trucks go through that interchange. So certainly a lot of accidents there are not only an issue for residents and commuters, but for economic activity as well. So advocating for the region's needs when it comes to transportation is key. And here you'll see the bright green is our service area. We've got 3 commuter rail lines that service our area, including obviously the Franklin line. Things that we've advocated for in the past are for increased investment from the Commonwealth in signals and switching and other track infrastructure to make sure that the trains are as reliable as possible. We did achieve a minor success during the pandemic in getting the scheduling changed to being what we call clock-based scheduling, or being more predictable, regular trains running at regular intervals. The old scheduling patterns were continuously emerging as a hindrance for folks to switch to the commuter rail for transit. The idea with the train schedule being heavily loaded towards the morning and the evening with the old traditional 9 to 5 commute, somebody who might either have a non-traditional commute or somebody who might need to get home on an emergency basis, childcare, caring for a relative, just having a personal emergency, was unlikely to utilize a system that was not going to enable them to get home if they need to. So that was a minor success we had there, but still needing to see the Commonwealth continue to invest in robust commuter rail service is essential to our region. And of course, our regional transit authorities, that is a slice of the RTA service area map with all of its many colors. We are served by 5 different regional transit authorities, most of which were set up on the old hub and spoke model of getting folks in and out of one central service area, and certainly working with our regional transit authorities to fight to make sure that they have the financial resources needed to try to innovate and change up their services to better meet the needs of 21st century commuters, especially in a suburban area. Housing is emerging as a significant, if not the #1 threat to our region's economic growth. I've spoken a couple of times tonight about how our commercial and industrial real estate is eminently more affordable in 495 Metro West, but that is not true of our residential real estate situation. This is a very expensive place to live. That comes from a good place. These are desirable communities for people to live in. These are areas where people want to be. But our region's housing stock is heavily dominated by detached single-family homes. In addition to very high price points, there's limited housing diversity. So we have an issue where even folks who might be working in a job where they're able to afford a more expensive residence are not necessarily interested in a detached single-family home. So certainly the need to create housing at price points that are more accessible in the region, but also the need to diversify the region's housing stock is essential. We are in the process of collecting our organization's stakeholders to develop the 495 Metro West Partnership's first policy plank on the issue of housing. That draft is actually now on our website. If you go to 495partnership.org and to the housing page, the draft is there. There's a form for public comment. We anticipate that coming before our board of directors in the fall, and we are certainly interested in comments from anyone in the region on how the housing situation has impacted them and their thoughts on some of the policy proposals that we propose to endorse there. I'm going to wrap up by talking about some of the more traditional economic development work that we do. We are the official REDO for our region. That's a state acronym, the Regional Economic Development Organization Program. This is a competitive state grant. We have to compete for this funding each and every year. The REDO program is set up so that there's no more than 12 across the state at any given point. They are for organizations that do economic development work across a region with a regional approach and a minimum of 10 municipalities. So we each and every year, and actually fun fact, the REDO program was in part modeled on the 495 Metro West Partnership when it was created about 15 years ago. So programmatic support we provide to businesses using that REDO funding. We provide technical assistance to basically any business that's either located within our area or may be interested in locating within our area. That's everything from site selection, helping them find the right property if they're looking to come to the region, if they're looking to grow in the region, if they're struggling, what resources might they qualify for that are available for businesses, helping municipalities, working with our cities and towns to identify priority development areas, making introductions between municipalities and local government where they might be having an issue there. And these are services, again, you don't have to be a member of the 495 Metro West Partnership to have access to these services. We provide these services to any interested business. And one thing I do want to mention, I know that Melanie has participated herself in this in the past. We convene on a monthly basis the planning and economic development officers from across our region. It's actually it's the third Thursday at 3 o'clock to provide a forum for planning and economic development staff across our region's municipalities to get together and work on shared challenges and issues. How we funded, common question. I did mention we do receive funding through a competitive state grant. We have the support of the business community through private donations. We call our donors, we call them investors. And I'm proud to say that some of our region's larger employers, many of whom are listed there, support the work that we do. And while there are certainly benefits to companies that we provide for contributing at certain levels, as I mentioned, we're not a pay-to-play organization. You don't have to provide money to the partnership in order to benefit from the work that we do. The companies that choose to donate to us choose to do so because they value the work that we are doing. And of course, each of our member municipalities are asked to contribute $500 per year, and we certainly thank the town of Franklin for your ongoing support. And with that, I'd be happy to pause and answer any questions that you might have. And just noticing, Melanie, that you appropriately brought a water bottle that is a 495 Metro West Partnership
matches,
official
right?
color, so thank you.
I really, I didn't do it on purpose, but I'll say I did do it on purpose.
I get something.
Yes, Brian, Councilor Chandler.
I get to start? Yeah, well, just a question, just a quick comment. Like, I'm getting close to 60, so I see what a big area you have. I mean, Framingham was a big part of my life when I was young. Like, we all went there. And now I just want to say, I think if you live in Franklin, between Milford and Foxborough, now you almost have everything you could need. I don't know if you guys agree with that, or,
What I would say to that is commuting patterns, both people working and where people go to access goods and services are really not traditional in our region. Where part of the reason the partnership exists in the first place is sort of the old school idea of there's a central city that everybody goes in and out of, and the suburbs are bedroom communities. That's not really what 495 Metro West is. So to your point, a huge part of why we try to advocate for the region in a holistic way in the first place is we have residents that are commuting all over the state, all over 495. And fun fact, I look at where people who live in Franklin commute to. The number one community is Franklin. You have a large employer base. You have a lot of residents who are working within the town. But in addition to Framingham, you've got Marlboro and Milford that are right up there employing your residents. So it's all over 495 Metro West, certainly, that your residents are going.
yeah. I just have one last question. Only because you guys are the biggest, I'm gonna ask you this question, because this is gonna come up for us soon. How much do you think a business would not come somewhere because they have a single tax rate or a dual tax rate?
So that's a great question that I'm going to dodge, and I'll tell you why.
Good question, Brian.
But,
Because the 495 Metro West partnership in our advocacy work speaks for our municipalities, we're
Yeah.
very, very careful that we never advocate to a municipality. We do not tell you what to do, so I'm not going to weigh in with any sort of recommendation. I will tell you that there's a diversity in the way our 36 cities and towns handle that. You certainly do have businesses, and I'll say obliquely, you certainly do have businesses that may be comparing tax rates. You don't hear as much, you tend to hear more comparing tax rates among municipalities than you do comparing the business tax rate versus the residential tax rate, because obviously the business making that choice would not be paying the residential rate.
okay, excellent answer, I appreciate that, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else? Patrick?
Yeah, just curious, how does the border come about, communities? I mean, how did that come about?
How did this
Yeah.
particular grouping
Yeah.
of communities come? So that's a great question. These are communities that not only felt, going back over the generations, had a lot in common economically, but also felt that they wanted economic growth and felt left out of other conversations. If you look at our communities to the east, and wonderful municipalities tended to be what our planning terms called mature suburbs a little bit earlier. So you think of Weston, Wellesley, Concord, kind of suburbs before you really had suburbs, where there was not necessarily the desire or receptivity to certain types of growth or economic development. So certainly our 36 cities and towns, there was kind of a consensus for growth, but there was also the consensus that they were on the edge of every other jurisdictional boundary. For some of our communities, getting lumped in with Boston, there are ways that that's advantageous. There are ways where you're just getting totally lost in the conversation, and that's, folks on the eastern edge of our service area getting lumped in with Boston, folks to the south getting lumped in with Providence. We have some that get lumped in with Worcester. So for each of the 36 cities and towns, we started at 32, we've expanded to 36 over the past 20 years. A different story for each, but it was a set of municipal leaders that participated from across the region. In particular, the region's legislative delegation was a big part of bringing these communities
So
together.
could it expand more? I'm just curious. Could it expand more, or?
Could we add additional communities? Yep. So the process is a municipal executive body, so a select board or city council
Okay.
would have to request to join, but then it has to be approved by our board of directors.
Okay.
I will tell you, we are not looking to expand.
Okay.
And certainly something that our board would consider. The most recent community we added was Plainville. Plainville was sort of an odd omission. It was actually the 495, the highway itself actually cuts through the town of Plainville, so it was kind of a non-contiguous community with a lot of things in common, especially with Rentham.
Yeah.
We're not looking to expand, and certainly one of the questions the board would ask is a community on the edge of us looking to join, would they have shared interests?
Okay. And as far as like transportation, any ideas about how to get public transportation within, between the communities better?
Yep, so we're working with our regional transit authorities to try to make sure that they have the financial support necessary to experiment with new approaches, in particular demand response services. I know that GATRA, which is
Yeah.
obviously our GATRA community, has been experimenting with demand response services. The challenges that our RTAs face is, they unlike other goods and services, their revenues that they derive from fares are a portion of how they're evaluated. Sometimes when they try out programs, they get one-time state assistance, and you get a pilot for 6 months or a couple of years, and the thing is, nobody's going to change their commuting pattern for a piloted program that's going to go away in a couple of years. So a big thing for us is making sure that the state is continuing to increase its investment in the Regional Transit Authority so they have predictable, reliable revenue that they can use, not just to try out new things, but to keep those new things in place for a while. Because again, if it's a pilot program that's for a year, it's just not realistic that someone is going to change their commuting pattern for a service that's going to go away.
Yeah. Well, it seems like at some point they used to do that and then it stopped, because going up in Needham, there's a Watertown bus that goes from Needham to
And
Watertown.
Needham is served by MBT, the MBTA
Yeah.
bus service. None of our 36 cities and towns are served by MBTA bus.
But that's
We're
like a
all
bus
in different
stop that
RTAs.
goes back to like the eons of time. It's just kind of random. So, okay, great, that's good, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Kobe?
Yeah, thank you. Are there any services that we're not taking full advantage of that you offer? I guess I would start there.
I would say that, Franklin, all of my 36 cities and towns participate at different levels. I would say that Franklin is pretty engaged with the 495 Metro West Partnership. Obviously, you've got your town administrator, who's an active member of our board, but you also have representation through Dean College. When I look at my cities and towns, they all differ in population. Some are more engaged than others. Where municipalities are less engaged, it's often because they have less municipal staff. They don't have staff that are able to focus on economic development. So I would say that Franklin, as of my municipalities, certainly leans in and participates in the conversation more. And fun fact of my board is 52 voting members and another 30 who serve in an advisory capacity. A bizarrely high percentage of them live in Franklin. Franklin is very well represented among our leaders and decision makers.
And then from a data standpoint, do you have any access to data? Are you producing any independent studies or surveys?
Great question. Most of the data we use to publish the reports we publish are from publicly available sources.
Yeah.
So we're a very small not-for-profit in terms of there's only 2 people who work there, and financially we're a small organization, so our capacity to pay for private data sources is pretty limited. The data that we essentially generate ourselves, so to speak, is the employer survey that we do in conjunction with Merck. They work with us to analyze the data. We're the ones getting the employers and the businesses to participate. But for the most part, the service that we do is taking publicly available data and actually drilling it down to our individual cities and towns in our unique region. Because again, nobody else is taking that 495 Metro West region and publishing data specific to it.
The employer survey, can you provide that to us? Do you link that? Is that easy to
So
find?
that's actually, if you go on our website under reports and data, you can link to a slide deck that'll just go through the results that came out probably in early June.
Okay, awesome. I think I saw the results. Didn't realize it was you.
Now you know.
Now you know, that's why he's
You
here.
all set?
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jason. I think we'll move on to the Metro West Visitors Bureau. And Stacy.
I'll switch places with you, Jason.
Great.
Oh yeah, Kobe didn't get a book. So we have
Wow.
all this information.
Hey, we got the trail. That's good.
That's right. Figured out
Well, what's in here?
The most publicized ice
Oh,
cream
the ice cream
trail.
trail. Yeah.
I should mention that Stacy is one of the Franklin residents who serves on my board of directors.
There we go.
It's true. We play nicely together. It's good. He sits on my board, so. So
Wait,
thank
you
you.
sit on each other's boards?
Yeah,
Yes.
we do. Well, we're both involved in economic development.
I
so-
know, I know.
Collaboration.
Collaboration,
It's all
exactly.
good,
There you
it's
go.
all good.
Partnerships, we're all about partnerships.
Yes.
So I know a lot of you. I don't necessarily know every one of you, but I'm Stacey David. I'm the executive director of the Metro West Boston Visitors Bureau. Quick of sort of who we are. We are an official RTC, Regional Tourism Council, which is a state designation. There are 16 of us in Massachusetts. This is the quick little map from the state. We are number 9 on this map. We are interesting in that we are an independent nonprofit, but we receive state funding. So about half of our budget comes from a state allocation from the Tourism Trust Fund. So we have a reporting relationship with MOT, which is the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism, though they are not technically our bosses. And our job is to market the region to both residents and visitors. So the packet that I gave you is a little bit of literature. On the left side is the new Massachusetts State Guide that just came out, and the Ice Cream Trail Guide, which, as Melanie mentioned, probably just got some press because it was just officially announced. And then on the right side is a couple of our visitors' guides that you can share with friends. And the new version of that will be coming out in about 3 weeks or so. So this is the last year's guide, but I just wanted you to see sort of where we're at. As I mentioned, we get some state funding. It's about 50% of our total budget. We are required by the state to match that funding, so we have to match it dollar for dollar. We do that through memberships, sponsorships, and private grants. And additionally, we get some time-limited state grants. So we currently have a TTSE grant, which is a shoulder season grant. So the idea is that we have $1 million to spend in combination with our sister regions, Discover Central Mass, which is Worcester area, and Visit North Central Mass, which is Fitchburg, Wachusett, that whole area. Together, we are a super region, as the state defines us, of Central Massachusetts. So we have $1 million to spend over a 2-year period to specifically market shoulder season, which the state defines as November through April, which has been very helpful for us in the last year in just expanding what we can do. The other thing that we are currently applying for is a Mass 250 grant. So for those of you that do not know, Mass 250 is the state's initiative to market the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. So we have a state application that is going in next week that will do some additional funding for some additional marketing for us. So our geographic area is a little bit different than Jason's. We do overlap quite a lot. We have 19 towns. Franklin is our southern end, and we go all the way up to Hudson on the north, Wayland on the east, and Natick, and then we go over to Westboro and Northborough on the west. So we're that sort of north-south corridor. Technically, we have 48 hotels in our region, though 4 of them are currently closed for migrant housing. That is always a moving target, as I'm sure you guys know. It is difficult to get information either from the state or from hoteliers if they close down for migrant housing and take a contract. So that has been a challenge the last couple of years of just knowing who we can market and who's accepting visitors and who is not. Of the 48 hotels, we have almost 6,000 hotel rooms in Metro West, so we actually have a lot more than our neighboring regions. And we service about 417,000, a little over, residents. This is the super region that I mentioned so that you can visually see sort of where we are at. We are geographically smaller than our neighbors, but as I mentioned, we actually have more to offer in terms of hotel rooms, which is sort of the defining characteristic of what we market. Our mission is to stimulate the Metro West economy. We do that through marketing the region's assets and driving additional spend by residents and encouraging new money into the region through visitors. The state defines a visitor as somebody who either spends the night in the region, so they could come from Norfolk and be considered a visitor if they spent the night, or from 50 miles away or more. A little bit about just the mass tourism landscape. We are the 3rd largest industry in the state. There are 21 million domestic and international visitors that we had in 2022. There's $24.2 billion spent by domestic and international visitors in 2022 in Massachusetts. Pre-pandemic, that was $20.8 billion, so we are back and above where we were. There's 131,000 plus jobs statewide in the tourism industry. Massachusetts is the 18th most visited state in the US, but we are only the 30th on state investment in tourism, which my little soapbox says we always like to spend a little bit more, and we would actually raise in the rankings. In Metro West itself, we have over 8,000 jobs that are related to tourism. In 2022, we had over $1 billion that was spent by travelers in Metro West specifically. That generated $66 million in state taxes and over $30 million in local taxes. So domestic visits to Metro West, these are brand new numbers. So this is FY24 numbers. We had almost 10 million trips to Metro West during the year. That was an average length of stay of 1.8 days. It's about 2 days, so visitor days of over 18 million. Our top 10 markets, oh, and I apologize, these slides, when they got translated, my spacing got wonky, but my top 10 markets by DMA. Surprisingly, but not surprisingly, Boston and Manchester is our #1 market. That is considered not because they are more than 50 miles away, but because we get people who actually come from Boston, spend the night in Metro West. We don't have a definitive answer as to why. Our theory is that a lot of that is business travel. So people who come for a conference who might live in Boston, but the conference is in Metro West and they spend the night, accounts for a lot of those numbers. You also have things like, Patriots games and events and things that people come and spend the night for. New York is a top market for us, as is Hartford. Springfield and Providence have both been increasing markets for us. Philadelphia, for the first time, made our top 10 in the last year, so we've been doing additional marketing to Philadelphia. And our small markets actually grew quite a lot, Albany, Burlington, and Bangor. We all had huge increases from those markets in the last year. These markets do define some of what we do in terms of advertising. So as I mentioned, our main goal is to market the region. We do that through a whole bunch of different avenues. I'm going to blow through these quickly, but I wanted you to just see sort of the scope of what we do. Our website is our main vehicle for distributing information along with our visitor's guide. The website has an event calendar and a POI, or point of interest directory, and so that is all of the places that people come to visit: attractions, restaurants, hotels, rec, all of that. And then we also have on our website some translated landing pages. So we are starting to really attract international visitors, and we have translated mini landing pages and general information about the region into French, Spanish, Italian, Brazilian Portuguese, German, Dutch. I'm missing one. No, maybe that's it, 6. And that's based on our top feeder markets. So the other actual number 1 market is UK and Ireland, which obviously does not require translation. So Asian markets are still not back from pre-COVID levels. So at the moment we are not actively marketing in Asian markets, but we are starting to see that come back quite a lot. So I'm guessing that FY26 will see quite a lot of Asian markets that we will market to and people that will come. Print ad campaign is huge for us. One of the first pages in your little folder was an example of a print ad. This has been our campaign for the last year and a half, the From Breweries to Bakeries campaign. The idea is to give people a feel for all there is to see and do within the region. We switch out the different places that we highlight, and we switch out the wording, and that is sometimes based on seasons, it's sometimes based on what publication it's going in. You'll notice this one on the screen has Birchwood Bakery in it. The one in your folder also mentions the Cultural District. So we do try our best to spread the love and market all of our communities that are in Metro West and all of our partner organizations. The ad that you see in the middle on the screen is a Heart of MA ad. That is the collaborative campaign with our neighboring regions. That's part of that $1 million super region spend. So we fight very hard to make sure that Metro West is recognized, because very often the love goes to some of the bigger cities and bigger attractions. So for the last year and a half, I have been in charge of the ad campaign, and I took that on purpose so that I could make sure that we get Metro West love in there too. So we try and spread the wealth with that as well. And then the ad that you see on the far right is our meeting planners campaign. So we do target meeting planners. That is a big revenue generator for Metro West in terms of hotel night stays, because we are a great place for meetings and events. I'm actually leaving in a week and a half for the Connect show in Milwaukee, where we will be meeting with probably 30 or so one-on-one meetings with large corporate and association meeting planners. So that is another avenue that we do is this sort of B2B marketing. Visitors guides, again, in your packet is the one that we designed for Metro West. The Heart of MA one on the left is one that Yankee Magazine designed for us for the super region, and that is marketed through them and on the heartofma.com website. So that is just a further vehicle to market the region. International markets, as I mentioned, this is the International Visitors Guide that we designed. It's a small guide, but it is downloadable as a PDF from those international landing pages, which you see on the right. Also translated into all of those languages, and it has an overview of the region, a listing of some of the main attractions for people. It has seasonal hub and spoke tours, the idea being stay in Metro West and take day trips to other places. We have to be realistic about what people are going to do. Nobody as an international visitor is going to come spend 2 weeks in Metro West. They will travel around, right? But we are primarily situated for people to stay here as a home base, unpack once, and take day trips around. It's beneficial to us as a region because our hotels get all of those night stays, our restaurants get quite a bit of additional traffic, and you have incidental spending such as people going to CVS or running into another retail location, et cetera. So we try and encourage that a lot with our international visitors, is these kind of hub and spoke ideas. We tend to market very heavily through itineraries. Again, being realistic, we are not the Cape, we're not Boston, we're not Western Mass. Those are places where people know what they're getting when they come to travel there. People don't necessarily know what Metro West has to offer. And so we find that marketing through itineraries by telling people what there is to see and do here and actually spelling out an itinerary for them has been a very effective way of marketing. So we have seasonal itineraries every month that change on our website, so you can see March's example on the left there, and the drill down page of that is the bottom right. And then the one that you see behind that, it says Affordable Spring Getaways, that's what we call an advertorial. It's an ad that we place in a print publication. Sometimes we do them digitally as well. That is basically an ad that reads as an editorial. So we do a lot of that to try and drive traffic in. One of the things we have found in recent years is people's attention spans are shrinking significantly. This is the rise of social media and the beast that has created. And so by doing the work for them, by planning things out for them, we find that people are very responsive to that. And we promote all of our itineraries on social media, which has been very effective. Some of the additional avenues that we market through, we do SEM campaigns, which are search engine marketing, so those keyword kind of searches we do. We do some co-op marketing through MOT, so state marketing. We go to a number of trade shows. Those tend to be the meeting planner show that I mentioned, but we also do a number of shows for tour operators. So last year and again this year, we are doing ABA, which is the American Bus Association show. Last year we had 48 sit-down meetings with bus tour operators, which is a growing market since COVID, trying to encourage them to bring people into Metro West. We're doing the Canadian equivalent of that this year for the first time. And then we also do D&E, which is Discover New England, which is an international tour operator show to meet with international tour operators. We have an e-newsletter that goes out every month. I think many of you are probably on our mailing list, and if you're not, sign up. In that, the first section of it is always consumer related, and so it is interesting events, opening attractions, new exhibits, that kind of thing. And the second half of that newsletter is always industry news. So we talk about things that are opening, initiatives that we have, grant opportunities, things like that. We do FAM tours, which are familiarization tours. So we take tour operators and writers, so journalists, bloggers, influencers on tours of the region so that they will write about us, talk about us, promote us to their audiences. And then we have videos. So we use those videos a number of different ways on our websites, through social media, through YouTube campaigns, etc. This is a social carousel ad that we ran that just finished, and we're starting another one. Here's some examples of some PR influencer visits that have happened. And we try our best to focus on a couple of USP, unique selling propositions for the area. Our proximity to Boston, meaning that it's easy to arrive here, it's easy to get around. Contrary to some of the transportation issues, we like to stress that it's very easy to get around. We have the lowest average hotel room rate in the state. We have continually had that. It is currently $136 a night with free parking. You compare that to Boston proper with an average of $357 a night with paid parking. That has been a great selling point for us, is just the fact that you can stay in Metro West, easily go into Boston for the day if you want, save a ton of money, spend that on attractions and restaurants in the area. Central location for hub and spoke, as I mentioned, and we market our unique venues and attractions, which includes specific locations, but also performing arts centers, cultural districts, recreation areas, sports complexes, etc. Breweries and wineries are a big up-and-coming one for us. And we market events, so that's a diverse lineup of things. Lastly, a couple of other activities that we do. We have a mini grant program, which I know some of you have actually applied for and gotten funding from us. That is state funding that we re-grant out. It is re-granted to do marketing of tourism-related events, attractions, et cetera. We have partnerships and do different things with those partnerships. Jason's organization is one, but we also partner with all of the chambers. We partner with the MRA, which is the Restaurant Association, municipalities, merchant associations, et cetera. We love to foster collaborations and bring people together and help them do better. And one of the things that we do is we help field and forward RFPs. So usually that is to hotels. It is not always to hotels, and it's usually for meetings and events and things. You have my card in your folder there, so I encourage people to reach out, and I'd be happy to answer. I covered a ton, obviously, in a short amount of time, but I'm happy to answer any questions about what we do.
Does anyone have any questions? Kobe?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, random questions that I've always had, and I know I can reach you anytime, but why not? You're here.
Sure.
How do we think about publicity through press? Like, I'm guessing that it's so easy to ignore, a pamphlet or even but one article in the Globe saying like the hottest town to visit this summer is Franklin. It is just miles above everything else. Or like, what are the top 5 wineries in the greater Boston, and they put La Cantina. I'm imagining that that's just way higher. And like Fox 25, like local news too. How do you think about that?
It's a good question. I wish we had the manpower to do more than we do. I am lucky in that I'm way larger than Jason's organization. I have 2 full-time people and 2 part-time people. So there's, unfortunately, earned media, which is what that is time-consuming. With that said, one of the things that we have done with this huge TTSE grant is a large PR campaign. And it has done exactly that. So it has done things like, the top holiday strolls, and, that'll list 12 different holiday strolls in the super region, right? So we've done a lot of that. We have gotten some press that way. I will say, in general, in my, and I'm dating myself, 25 plus year career in marketing and PR, it has gotten harder and harder, honestly, to get PR, and the reason is that staff at those organizations and outlets is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, right? And so it is really, really hard these days to get somebody's ear and attention and get them to write an article like that. So we definitely try. I wish we could do more of that. It is part of the way that we approach that now, and the easier avenue sometimes for getting press is actually things like bloggers, right? And so that's some of the fam tours and things that I talked about. So last year we brought in, I think, 6 different bloggers for tours that all published something, in some cases multiple somethings that would be on their blog and on their social media. So it's influencer campaigns. Interestingly, on top of news outlets cutting down on staff, it's also a very interesting landscape these days in terms of where people get news from. So it used to be there were prime outlets, Boston Globe being one of them, right? It's not like that anymore.
I think of Only in Your State being popped onto random Facebook.
Yeah, and people are getting it, so much of their news is soundbite news through social media, right? In which case you have, and I'm not exaggerating when I say 7 seconds or less to capture their interest in a post long enough for them to say, I'm going to actually read the article. So it's all sound bites these days. So that's really hard to get just viewership that way. But people are getting their news from loads of different sources. And so part of our goal is how can we get the word out there in all of those different avenues. So social media advertising is one. So we both boost our organic posts, and we post daily on our channels. We boost the organic posts, but we also do specific social media campaigns to try and drive traffic. And we drive that to the website. Sometimes what we're doing is we're driving it to an article on our website to try and get the news out there. And we've done things like holiday gift guides and holiday strolls, and we just did one that was all the July 4th happenings in the region, and Franklin featured in that one. And so, we do things like that because it's just so much more diversified these days in terms of there are a million news outlets instead of one.
Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, I was thinking about influencers as well. Maybe I'll save some of those for downtown partnership, but, yeah, just thinking about ways to sort of modernize our thinking of how we're attracting people. I'd be interested in, where, and I would encourage you to be willing to be critical, or at least like not worry about offending. Like, where do some municipalities in our district do better than others in terms of attracting? Either through offerings, through like just built environment, like what
Yep.
they look like and feel like, or through, sort of earned activities or local organizations.
It's a really good question. I will say that there are certain towns in the region that I can market as spend a day in
Yeah.
kind of a town, right? Because there's so much to see and do that it's really easy to say, spend a day, right? As opposed to go to this attraction. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah.
Franklin actually is one of them, and it tends to be actually some of the places with cultural districts for obvious
Yeah.
reasons. So Natick is a really easy one to market.
Of course.
Hudson, which does not have a cultural district but should, is another really easy one to market that way. We've started doing a little bit more of that for Holliston and for Marlborough than we had in the past. The tough thing is you have to have enough kind of critical mass there for it to make sense for a tourist to say, I'm going to go to that place, park my car, and spend the day, right? Which is why cultural districts work well with that. I would say if I'm going to be critical in terms of Franklin on that, there are a couple of things that are always draws. So events are always a draw, which Lisa does a fantastic job of, but more is always better. So that's not a criticism so much as a, gee, it would be
Yeah.
great if we could have more, right? And I don't want to say that I'm putting that on Lisa's shoulders because I'm not volunteering you for anything.
No, you got our cultural festival.
Well, Corey's here, so she's.
Oh, great,
she's
great.
listening.
I'm going to volunteer Corey for that then. Corey's going to stop taking my calls. So I would say, Natick, for example, does tons and tons of different events, which is why it's easy to market it because there's almost always something going on. And so it's not just a come to that town on this date. It's come to that town, there's always something going on, right? So from a marketing standpoint, it just makes it easy to sell it because you're not time limited. It's sort of evergreen, right? You want to have the downtown be walkable, which I think we are here. And you want to have enough to offer that it's not just an hour of time, but that there's actual activities there too. And I think that is where Franklin is lacking, is that the downtown has shopping and restaurants. It doesn't have as much in terms of an actual activity that you could come do, right? So to throw out a couple of examples, there's nothing like an escape room. Or, I have to say, a huge thing right now are rage rooms. You know what a rage room is?
Yeah.
Huge rage rooms these days, which I think does say something about our society in general, but I'm not going to go there too far. Oh, no, he's right, But,
the council meeting.
Something like that, right? That offers people the ability to spend hours in a location because you can go, you can eat a meal, you can do an activity, you can follow up with dessert afterwards, you can walk around and see, do the outdoor rec, et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think, if I were to make suggestions, it would be things like that. There are loads of different activities that could be added that would then make it more attractive.
Yeah, no, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kobe. Brian?
Quick statement and a small question. I know it's getting late.
It's okay. We have another hour.
For people that have been in Franklin forever, it would be like Franklin, Cape Cod, Florida. Like that was it. And I'm going to be embarrassed to say this. My two vacations this year were Mashpee on the Cape and Naples, Florida. So what I'm getting at is, how do you deal with the creature of habits? Like, because that's me. Like, how do you get me?
Right, right,
You know?
and that
Sometimes you
is
just have to give
honestly,
I know, I went to the same,
it's the tricky part of it, honestly,
Yeah.
right? And I think for many, many, many years, our focus as an organization was business travel. That was our bread and butter for the hotels in Metro West, right? We were not thought of as a leisure location. We were
Yeah.
only thought of as a business location, right? Unfortunately, the pandemic changed that landscape because businesses all of a sudden realized, I don't have to ship 10 people from around the world to one location for a meeting. We can do it on Zoom, right? And so certainly at the beginning of COVID, all of business travel dried up. But even since then, a lot of it has not come back and will not come back. The flip side of it is that people are not traveling as frequently for business, but when they do travel, they tend to spend more money. So we see two things. One is the, as my husband always calls them, a boondoggle, which is, the CEO and 12 other C-level execs that come together for a week and have 4 meetings and then a whole lot of fun stuff that happens, right? And those kinds of things are actually huge right now. And so when we market to meeting and event planners, for example, I always include a one-pager on team building. I always include off-site venues that are not hotels, because that's what they're looking for these days. And the budgets are big because they're not spending it on year-round travel, they're spending it in a couple of big meetings, right? So that's one thing from the sort of business side of it. The other piece is bleisure travel. I don't know if anybody has heard this new coined term, which I don't particularly like, but I didn't coin it. It is the blend of business and leisure. So people are traveling for business and staying a couple extra days to do fun stuff in the area. Now that it's really easy to be hybrid or remote while working, they'll say, I'm gonna spend 3 more days and do some fun stuff and just work from the hotel room a couple of hours, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to capture that traveler also and get them to recognize if they're coming to the area, gee, there are some fun things to do, right? Neither one of those things actually answered your question, but I
Well,
wanted you to be
no.
aware of that.
it made me think, because that's my kids right now, what you just said.
Yeah.
They do that, they answer a couple emails and they're in the Outer Banks or they're somewhere else.
Right.
Because,
Because it's easy to do that.
right, and they don't
It's
have to
easy
take
do
all
that.
their vacation time, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that's, part of how we're sort of addressing the shift.
Yeah.
The initial question of how do we address the person who, these are the 2 places I go and that's it kind of thing, is through a whole lot of marketing. Historically, and the number still stands true, you have to touch somebody 7 to 8 times before they actually change a behavior to do what you want them to do. Right? So, so that is part of it, and it's part of why we do all these different types of marketing, is so that all of a sudden you get somebody like you who says, you know what? I picked up that visitor's guide, and
Yeah.
then I saw an article in the Globe about it, and then it popped up in my Facebook, and then, right? And all of
You're
a
right.
sudden you're like, maybe I should check it out.
You're right.
Right, and that's eventually how it happens. It just, it takes time, but we're seeing it. I mean, we're seeing the growth. Our numbers, our visitor numbers this year, we had 9.8 million. They were 8.6, if I remember correctly, 8.6 million, I think, last year. So it's working.
Great, thank you for creating jobs too, anything. All right,
We're trying.
Thank you, Brian. Patrick, you have anything?
Yeah, just remind us again how we sign up for that email.
For the newsletter email,
Yes.
if you go to our website, which is metrowestvisitors.org, as soon as you land on there, it will pop up with a little box that you can sign up, and then you will get that newsletter. And if I can have an ask of you guys, I will say, one of our biggest challenges right now is that there was such tremendous turnover in the tourism and hospitality industry during COVID that almost everybody that used to be a partner is no longer at their job. Right? We went very quiet, we were completely dormant almost during the first year of COVID because nobody was traveling. What do you do, right? We are certainly back at it, but there are so many businesses in Franklin that could take advantage of what we do that we're not even on their radar. As much as we try to reach out, talk to them, send emails, make phone calls, stop by, we're just not on people's radar. Our membership fees are very minimal. We're a nonprofit, we're not in this to make money, we're just, if I didn't have to charge, I wouldn't charge anything, we just have to make the state match. But they range from $100 a year up to $12.50 a year for large businesses at a platinum level membership, right? And for that, we include everybody that is a member in everything that we do, in our ad campaigns, in our social campaigns, in the visitor's guide, in newsletters. So particularly for small businesses in Franklin, there is a lot we could do to help spread the word and gain them visibility for very little either effort or monetary investment on their part. We'd like to see ourselves as being sort of an extension of their marketing department. For many, they don't have a marketing department, so we can do it for them, right? So we just ask you to help spread the word. We're always happy to talk to people and share what we can do. And I love to give the love to Franklin because I live here, so.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Patrick. Stacy, thank you. I have, there may be a children's museum coming to Franklin, so that.
And I've talked to them at
So
some
that
of the
would be
events.
a thing to do.
It would be a thing
So
to
we're
do, and it would
getting-
be a
we're getting
huge
there,
draw,
right?
because there is not one, the closest one is either Easton or Acton, right? So those are, as a parent who at one point had small children and no longer do, you are always looking for something to do. So that is fantastic. I've talked to the two women that are heading up that initiative, and would love to see that come to fruition, so.
That would be great. Rail trail, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't need to take much time right now because we should go to the other people, but I just wanted to ask, like, just off the top, like, what are we gonna do for regionally for the World Cup? Like, are you already working on that? Like,
Yes, so two enormous things happening basically back to back, which is the 250th anniversary and FIFA World Cup. 3.5 seconds worth of background on World Cup is that there will be nine or 7 games?
9.
9 games, I think,
isn't
in
it?
7
Gillette.
days. I think it's more games than that, but it's 7 days.
In 7 at Gillette. So 7 at Gillette. It is a very different animal than a Patriots game, and I want you all to be aware of this from an economic development standpoint. There are basically 60,000 seats in Gillette. Of those, each of the countries that is playing in any given game gets 15,000 tickets. So we have automatically 30,000 international visitors that will be heading into Gillette. Of the other 30,000 tickets in that stadium, almost none of them will end up being locals because it is a lottery system. So those tickets go just based on lottery, which means unlike a Pats game where the vast majority are season ticket holders that are kind of sort of in the Metro West area. I mean, they might be Boston, but they're not foreigners in the sense of real visitors to the area, right? We're gonna have 60,000 visitors for each of those games. Of the 7 games, it's over a 6-week, it's 39-day period. It's 39 days of Fan Fest that will happen as part of that, right?
That's the big
That's the big thing.
That's the thing.
I am here to say, without making enemies of Meet Boston, who has way more money than we do to market and does a fantastic job. Thank you, Martha. They are marketing it in fact, FIFA is requiring them to market it as Boston Stadium. They are not allowed to call it Gillette Stadium because of all sorts of legalities involved with that sponsorship, right? So they are marketing it as Boston Stadium. It is not in Boston. If you are not from the area, you would not know that it is not in Boston, right? So Boston is marketing Fan Fest and hotels and events in downtown Boston for World Cup. It will be a nightmare to get all of those people from Boston to here. We are working very hard to try and partner with the folks at Gillette to say, can you please, please, please include us in the planning when it comes to hotels?
Right.
Franklin has hotels our hotels are closer to Gillette than any other hotel aside from the ones physically at Gillette, right? So we are doing a lot to try and push that. We do have plans to come out with a FIFA-specific visitors guide, like mini visitors guide for FIFA visitors, which is something that we will be working on specific to World Cup. If I can find the budget for it, I'm going to translate it into a bunch of the languages of the people that are coming, for obvious reasons. It minimally, even in English, it will be on our international landing pages, because chances are pretty good that we're going to end up with a Spanish-speaking country that will be here, and potentially an Italian-speaking country that will be here, and so we will certainly have it out there for those people. It's been hard to get into Gillette, to talk to those people. I had made a contact who shook my hand at the governor's conference and said, yes, I want to sit down with you. And it's been difficult to actually get that meeting scheduled. So it is certainly on our radar. It is certainly in our books. I would encourage the town, particularly Franklin, because of the location, to consider creating some Fan Fest events of your own, to convince people to stay out here.
In
Right.
process.
And
We are
make sure
on
you
that
let me
big
know.
time.
Make sure you let me know when all of that happens, right? Because we will market it from here.
We want them
beyond.
to practice on our fields. We want folks to use the fields here at the schools. We want all that stuff to be available to people because that's really, the games are one thing, but it's really what revolves around the games that's huge.
Yeah, and I will tell you this, there are already some teams that have already booked both field space and hotel space with hotels in Natick. So just so that is on your radar, there are some places and some teams that are pretty convinced they'll end up here that are already booking space. So it is not too early to do any of that. And the more favorably you can get in front of some of these people, the better.
Yep.
So that's great. We are also, and I don't want to take up too much more time, but
Yeah.
with the Mass 250, which is happening literally back to back with FIFA, our Mass 250 grant is to expand our website and create a specific Metro West 250 visitors guide. And the other thing that is super exciting is we are working with a company called Tailbox to create AI walking tours. The idea is that they could take, for example, a walking tour of Franklin, and it would give them stories and history of places in town, and then you can ask it questions, and it will give you more information, which is very cool.
We got those.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Great question.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy.
Appreciate it. And I'm sorry it
I
took so
know,
much time.
I know,
It was a lot.
I know we're taking time, but this is really good information, and I really appreciate everybody's patience with all of us, because we're like, really, it's interesting, so thank you a lot, and we're gonna move now to the Tri-Valley.
Tri-County.
I was gonna say, I didn't think it was
No, it's
Tri-County Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. It
Was
will
it
be
Gwen?
short.
Is it Gwen?
No, I'm Colette.
Colette, sorry, Colette.
I am covering for Laura Callahan.
Colette's here.
Great vacation.
Thank you.
This is their panel over there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Loved your presentations, by the way. Both of you. Amazing information. I'm so happy that Franklin
Like
is really.
everybody's learning from each other.
Well, no, because
I know.
I'm a business development manager. I'm consulting for Laura, helping her grow the local chamber. I'm involved with Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. I'm involved with Charles River Regional Chamber of Commerce. I see what Natick, Wellesley, what they're doing, and it's so nice to hear that Franklin's really coming along.
Trying.
I live
Because
here.
you live here, too.
I live here,
So
yeah. I'm so
Colette
happy.
lives here in Franklin as well, and.
I live in Franklin Heights, where they're building another 62 units of condos right now on parcel B. And I'm on the board. So I deal with that every day. They drive right by my condo. Okay, so basically, I want to give you a little definition of what Tri-County Regional Chamber is. They're a reliable resource for the people who live, work, and play in our town. In our towns, there's 10 towns that are part of this chamber. It's Bellingham, Franklin, Holliston, Hopedale, Hopkinton, Medway, Mendon, Milford, Millis, and Upton. And she basically wanted me to tell you about some of the networking. So Laura Callahan is a CEO. She has an administrator that works with her. There's 2 in their office. They're located in Milford. The way that they support themselves is by membership fees and grants. They have 300 members right now, but only 46 of those members are from Franklin. So when I had met her, I said, why aren't there more people from Franklin? There's a lot of businesses in Franklin. I worked for Staples for 13 years. The entire Forge Parkway is all potential businesses. So I've started, Pierce Aluminum was one of them. I went to talk to them. They're like, oh, wow, we never thought about that. So I'm sort of working my way through with all my contacts to help her grow her business.
Nice.
So basically, they have like a women's luncheon monthly. They have networking events that happen. They have business after hours. They have a young professionals group. And they have all the pieces in place to really grow their chamber membership. It's all about connecting, promoting, growing, and engaging. And I wanted to keep it really short because we kind of ran over. But Laura would love to connect with the two of you specifically. I can tell you right now. I mean, because I'm working at Staples for all those years in Framingham. I've met people from probably you. There's not that many people.
Wait, give
but
people a name. Oh, can we see who she's pointing to on the screen? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
But anyway, so I think there could be a really good partnership going on between everyone that's here. And I have to say, living in Franklin for 4 years, I'm so excited to see that it's not the Sleepy Hollow, that there are really good things happening here. And I look forward to, I'm sorry, should I have said that, the Sleepy Hollow? But I mean,
No, it's
I
okay.
live here.
It's okay with me.
But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here for Laura, and if anybody has any questions, I can minimally answer them, but I can get you, the website has all the information. You have the website in the folders that I gave you, and I have one left, so I'll give it to you over there.
Thanks. Great.
Okay, thanks.
Does anyone have any questions?
No.
No,
Short
actually, I
and
don't
sweet.
have one. You get out of this easy.
Tell Laura we asked you a lot of questions.
Yeah, I will. I'll say, oh my God, they have presentations, and I didn't have one.
But thank you for being here tonight.
No worries.
All right, let's move along to the Franklin Downtown Partnership and Lisa Piana.
Franklin.
Did I say Franklin or Holliston?
No, I said Franklin.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning Holliston a couple of times there, Stacy. Yeah.
All right.
And Jason.
I got
And,
stuff.
I'm just kidding.
So I got some handouts. So, yeah.
Do you need help?
I feel like I'm at an advantage because I think I know all of you and I think
Yes, you do.
you know me and I
Yes.
think you know the partnership. But you know what? It's always good to get free stuff, right?
Thank
You
you.
might not have one of these.
Well, it's always good to hear new things and,
Yeah.
and for everyone else
Yeah.
to know, right? I
And,
mean, we might know, but
actually, I'm
not
gonna have
everybody
you
that's
pass these.
watching.
I will pass them down, yes.
Corey might not know.
Oops. Oh, Ladybug, of course.
Pass these down. This is our newest membership. And then this is,
That was much easier,
yeah, so
yeah.
there, yeah. I got it.
All right, get back in front of the camera there.
Pass that down.
Colette didn't take enough time, so now Lisa's just handing them out to everybody.
Wow, that's a lot of members.
So, Franklin Downtown Partnership, we're easier than, we're Franklin, and Franklin. So we're not 12 towns, 19 towns, we're Franklin. Which is great for me because I get to know so many businesses and so many organizations. So we have close to 300 members. We've been around for 23 years. I've been the executive director for 20 years. We have 3 part-time staff. I'm part-time, and about a year ago, I guess, we have a social media part-time person, and we have a PR part-time person. And so it's, my office is downtown Franklin on East Central Street. And we're very excited. Next week, we'll be launching a new website. We've been kind of stumbling along with our blog, which I have to give Steve kudos because I think it was probably, I don't know, 18 years ago that he helped us launch that, which was a big deal back then because nobody had websites. But so we're finally launching a new website, and we're pretty excited. We're hoping that it's going to be the site for visitors when they come to Franklin, and obviously our residents, to find out where to go, what restaurant to go to, what's happening in theater, whether it's the Black Box or Dean College, what services are there. And so it's kind of two audiences that it's talking to. One is if you're a new business, you want to join the partnership because we can help you partner, we can help you meet different entities that will help you with your business. But then we also have people who may be coming from out of town or moving to town for the first time, and they want to know the ins and outs of Franklin. And so there's going to be, part of the website is our historical sites, the Ladybug Trail, the murals, things that are other reasons, as Stacy said, other reasons to come downtown and spend more than an hour. So, so we're pretty excited about it. It'll be, official launch will probably be in October. We're going to do a soft launch next week. What else? We have two major events, Strawberry Stroll in June, and that has, that's been many years. Harvest Festival, we just celebrated 20 years, so it's going to be 21st year this September. It's hard to know how many visitors we get. We think we get somewhere, if the weather's good, we get somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 people that come to the Harvest Festival. We're talking about expanding it at some point. One of our challenges is volunteers. I have a great board of directors. Brian's one of my on my board, and we have a lot of people that give a lot of time and energy, but we need some new faces and new volunteers to step in. And so that's one of our challenges as we expand our events, and they're just getting bigger and bigger and more just coming from many different places. We get people from surrounding towns like Norfolk, Bellingham, Rentham, but we also get people as far away. Sometimes we have crafters from Boston. We also have, I ran into somebody that came to Franklin from the Cape, amazingly enough, to do the Ladybug Trail. And she called and I said, "You're coming from the Cape to Franklin?" I was so excited.
Are you eating out?
So yeah, and she's like, "I want to know where to go, and we're coming for the Ladybug Trail." And I said, "Really?" I said, "How did you hear about it?" So she said she has a friend that was somewhere in Metro West, and it was the halfway point. They were looking for a town that was halfway.
Right.
And so I love that. And so we get our funding we get from our great local sponsors. We can't do it without the banks and many the local businesses. We also are fortunate to get grants from many different organizations, and also Jeff Roy has been instrumental in getting us earmarks that has really helped us to be able to continue to do these events. I think a lot of residents don't realize how much it costs to put on these events with police detail and many other things. And so I always say, just support your local businesses, because they're the ones that keep these events going and these projects going. What else? I don't know, questions? I mean, we're doing great. We have close to 300 members. Our membership has grown every year for 23 years. We're one of the few organizations that we never dipped, even during COVID. And actually, we grew even more during COVID, because I think the businesses realized they needed more help. Our membership for an average mom and pop is $100 for a yearly membership, and with that you get a free booth at both of the events. You get social media. We do a lot of social media. We have, I think it's close to 4,000 followers now. I highly suggest everybody, if you're not following us, to do that, because we're just always telling you what's updating everyone on the festivals, on the different things happening downtown. We're involved in everything downtown, whether it's the parking in the trees or Davis Thayer coming up, that project. Space downtown, we could use some help from the town on that. We have a couple space that became available this past season, and it's always helpful to have the town weigh in on that, help the local retailers with that. Yeah, we partner with everyone. most nonprofits are also members of the partnership, so we work with everybody from the, cultural district to the food pantry to Dean College, obviously. We're sort of just always there to bring people together, whether it's somebody calling to open a business downtown, we'll give them, Eileen's name, or one of the landlords if they're interested in downtown. One of the things that I think surprises people is we have a lot of businesses that are not located downtown. Because for many years we tried to, we kind of preach that if you have a strong downtown, it will make Franklin better. And first couple of years, people were like, yeah, but I'm not downtown. But as the years went on, so many businesses were like, yeah, I get it. Like, you're focused on the downtown, but we need to be part of it because we want to be part of the festivals. We want to be part of networking. We do a lot of networking. We have our general meetings are every month. Well, for our board and for our members are every other month. So we have 5 or 6 meetings a year. And we have, Jamie is there updating local town things. We have Jeff there, Jeff Roy, talking about state. Where can you go where you can get all this information in an hour meeting every other month? So we get somewhere between 40 and 60 people at our morning meeting, which is, I think people are always surprised when they come how many people are, and our meetings are at Dean College, so it's very easy for everybody to get to. So, questions, thoughts?
Any questions? Colby?
Yeah, thank you. The meetings are great, the networking's great, the events are great. You answered one of my main questions, which was going to be, how do you think about, being a downtown partnership while being a town-wide resource and network?
Yeah, I mean, we get, again, our focus and our mission is always about the downtown. We are involved with the streetscape, we're involved in everything downtown, but as far as partnering different people, businesses that are outside of the downtown also need assistance with things, and they don't call as much as our downtown smaller businesses, but we still like to know what's going on with those members. We have a lot of, we actually have home businesses, people that work out of their house. And they want to be part of our events, but they want to get their name out. We have people who do different services, whether it's financial. We have a couple people that have real specialties with, like, helping kids with college or health care. We also get very involved in the elder care. Because everybody's sort of trying to, work on their audiences. And so our networking, our meetings, and our 2 events are just, it's just easy for $100. If you do even one of those 4 things, it's worth the membership.
Yeah.
So I think that's why you see our growth just continue.
How do we, are you interested, and how do we better if so, how do we better incorporate the downtown partnership and its businesses in really EDC conversations, like policy changes? Zoning changes?
Well, I think it's always helpful to have, have a town council member at our meetings, I think, if there's something specific that's going on, to update. I think that's something that our members really like. They like to be updated on different, if there's an opportunity to present at one of our meetings, because again, you're getting, a lot of people. One of the things with our businesses, and I'm sure you know this, but they're so busy running their businesses,
right,
that they don't, even when I say, hey, there's going to be a meeting on something very specific that is going, right, to affect them, it's hard to get them there. So, these meetings are they have them on their calendar ahead, and so it's a great opportunity to have a representative from, whether it's, town council, or we've had sometimes people from DPW come in if there's some specific thing that's going on with the streetscape or something,
yeah,
like that.
Do you see yourself as an advocate on behalf of
Absolutely.
the downtown businesses?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
yourself, the organization?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they come to me when they want to know something specific, and if I don't know, I'll reach out to Jamie or one of the department heads to find out more. And it's great to have Brian on my board, we have, Dean College people on my board, so it's an opportunity at least once a month to get people together to talk about things that, ideas or questions that they have, and they know that in a couple weeks, they're gonna be able to go to the September meeting and probably see, Jamie there, or Jeff Roy, or, the president of Dean College. So it's a great opportunity for everybody to kind of meet each other.
We talked about, tourism and how it changes. I know that you obviously have limited staff, and already the social media game has improved a lot. Is there room for, how do you think about bringing in influencers to Franklin, not local influencers, the ones that come to mind, obviously Matt, who was going around and sort of roasting all the local towns from the news station. But then there's the guy who does all the MBTA stops, and there's the traveling grannies who go around to each town.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we randomly got a guy who hits every county in the country, and he chose us as the one for Norfolk County.
The dancing guy?
Yeah. He just dances in every county.
Yeah.
He's like so funny.
Yeah, just
I think it's
downtown,
great,
like dancing.
yeah.
But like, how do we be proactive about, incorporating and getting them to the places?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question, and we should talk about it. Yeah, I definitely think I can bring in, I would reach out to my social media person who's, Marcy. She does a great job. So
Yeah.
I'd be curious to ask her that question and bring her into it. So next week our website will go and be off our plate, and we'll be ready for that discussion. And yeah, it's like the others that have presented. It's a challenge because there's always this much to do with this much staff time. So we kind of pick and choose things, but and this is a very busy time with the Harvest Festival. But when we used to have a lot more downtime, but we still have slower times, and that would be a great topic to talk about. I mean, our social media. We have grown. It's just it's just gone like this, and that was because we put a part-time person that knew a lot more than I knew about it to put it as a front and center and to put the time in, and so it's been very successful for us. And that's like everybody was saying. That's that's the future. That's the now, really, not even the future.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to press that. But I just want to circle back and just talk about the Ladybug Trail. That is something that people come to, like they're looking, they do the foxes at, in one town, and they're always looking the whales in one town. And I ran into a guy, he was taking pictures, and he was an older gentleman, and I said, are you look like you're lost, can I help you? Because I could tell he wasn't from Franklin. And he goes, yeah, I'm looking for the next ladybug. And I said, oh, where are you from? And he was from far away. Mm-hmm. And he goes, yeah, I go to all these towns. And he goes, there's a bunch of us. We go to all these towns, and we take photos, and then I put in. So I think there's more that we can do to bring people in for that, just as a side note, yeah.
Yeah. There's the mural people. People
The
want to go
mural
see all the
people.
murals, like
Yeah.
all the selfie shots, like
yeah.
the one that's like on here, right?
Yeah,
Like this mural.
yeah,
There's a lot of people that do that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
So it's all fun.
So there are more things to do, activities, Stacy, we just gotta get that in,
Yeah,
the Metro West Visitors Bureau.
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Kobe.
And our
Are you done?
museum, nobody talked about our museum. We
Museum.
have one of the best museum. Chronicle
History
did,
Museum, yeah.
Chronicle did a big segment, like probably 15 years ago now, but when they came, they said we have one of the best museums in the state. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still true, but definitely we have one of the
That's
best.
pretty good.
It is pretty good,
It would be helpful to market it if it was open more.
yeah. Well, again, they would say
Stacy just made a comment, she's
volunteers.
trying not to be critical tonight. She wants it to be open more, so.
We'll work on that.
We'll work on that. That's what we can do, I guess, or maybe, I don't know. Sorry, Kobe. Are you done?
No, I have one more, but I'm sensitive.
I'm
to
kind of
time.
jet lagged, so I'm just having fun tonight, so it's okay.
Spit it out, Kobe.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
the big question, which I think we've talked about briefly, but it sort of comes back, is when you look to a few of the communities that have really been successful in bulking up their downtown. Most relevant to us is Hudson. Is there a formalized business improvement district, which is a state designated area where each property chips in an annual fee toward a sustainable fund that goes into streetscape improvements, events, and other things. Franklin Downtown Partnership operates pretty closely to a bid, and we end up collecting fees, and you've been sustainable enough, but I'd be interested in if you have a formal position on, whether it would make sense to consider transitioning into a formal state recognized business improvement district.
I mean, I think it's worth discussing. I mean, I think I would probably bring in Brian and some other people from my board of directors to talk more in detail about that would know more about it than me. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth talking about. I know there was discussion when this organization was put together 23 years ago about that, because the downtown was in more disrepair. I mean, after we had the streetscape, I think it became less of a topic. So I think it's definitely worth talking about.
Yeah. For me, thank you.
Great questions, Kobe. Thank you. Anyone else?
Just
Brian?
one comment. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Thank you for everything you do.
Oh, thank
I know there's been a lot of ups and downs downtown.
you. Yeah.
But the one thing I just want to say how lucky we are is many years ago when we talked about the streetscape, that everyone had the forethought to let it become two ways each way. Because there was a lot of people in this town, some of you will know, that did not want it to become two ways.
Yes.
And there was a big fight. And you people, like the other people that spoke, how lucky we are as a town that we have a main street that we can shut down and still get the whole world right by us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, we're so lucky for that. Like, we could do more festivals than any other town. I don't know. I mean, I still haven't been to Hudson. I don't know if they have a better plan, but I just think that it's just wonderful how we're able to do that. That's my biggest comment.
Yeah,
We prefer open up, not shut down. Open up to pedestrians and
Yeah,
everyone else.
yeah.
Better word, thank you.
Pedestrian friendly, welcoming to pedestrians. Yes.
Dinosaur.
No, I agree
Dinosaur.
with you, and we're so fortunate. I mean, back 20 years when I first took this position, there were a lot of talks like nobody's going downtown. I mean, people are coming downtown now. I mean, we have the stores, we have the restaurants, we have Dean College, the Black Box. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
And I think we have to just keep talking about it, because there's some people that still they have a mindset of 15 years ago.
I know,
And
it's
some
how
of them
I,
are my friends. Like, well,
Yeah.
why? Well, I haven't been down. Like, they haven't been to the bakery yet. I said, what? What are you waiting for? Or they're like, the Black Box. What do they do? I go, I can't even. Like,
Yeah.
this is my job. Like, get off your couch. But they're still, maybe going into Boston or something. I said, there's a lot right here.
Right.
So we're just going to keep talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are lucky. Thank you.
Thank
for
you
that comment.
again. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Brian. Patrick, anything? No? Thank you so much, Lisa, for being
Sure.
here with us tonight.
Absolutely.
All of you, it was a lot of fun, a lot of good information. And thanks to my fellow counselors for all the good questions. I like the question about the bid. I didn't have to ask that question tonight, so thank you, Kobe. With that, I guess, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you for watching, everyone, and have a good night. And stay tuned for the next meeting.
Yes.
For all of you that Representative Roy and Senator Rouse just walked in, so if
Okay.
anybody wants to talk to them, they'll be here a little early.